This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic! What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is December 29th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. We are back together here for the first time in a week. Kevin, how was your Christmas?
Christmas was lovely, man. It was a really, really good time. Always is, but this year was just really nice. And so glad to have that time with the family. Glad to be back here, though, with my Orlando Magic family. But how was your Christmas week?
Yeah, Christmas was great. The week was pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know if I've ever been more over the West Coast, like, start times as I was this week. I don't know if it's getting older. I don't know if it was just like the busyness of the holidays and then, going from Christmas tradition stuff, coming home, putting the kids to bed, and then having to put the game on. And then obviously, we're going to talk about the way that they played in a couple of those games. But man, these late night West Coast games just kind of hit me like never before. But other than that, it was a great Christmas week. Very tiring. Just one of the busier Christmas seasons. I think probably the busiest Christmas season I've ever had. But it was great. Great time with the kids. Great time with the family. Yeah. How did you? I know you were even busier than I was, especially with work stuff. Late night games a little bit rougher this year for you, or what?
I think it has to do with the time of year. I think I am going to put in a request to Adam Silver to never let us play on the West Coast the week of Christmas again. I think that definitely added to it. Sleep was definitely a short commodity this week, but it's okay. They're back. They split the West Coast trip, as maybe imperfect and as sometimes ugly it was. Yeah. They split it, and so I'll take it. And then now we look ahead to maybe some more winnable games, some of them even at home. Well, not really. We're back on the road again, but whatever. That's the way it goes.
No Christmas, no Easter. Like both of those weeks, no West Coast road trip.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that'd be nice.
No thanks. Really quick, this episode is brought to you by Bruv Sal, Dylan Fay, Jacob Swish, Sam Ward, Tiago Mello. These are some of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. They went to patreon.com/the Sixth Man Show and picked the tier that worked best for them. Each and every episode, we give a special shout out to some of our Hall of Fame and Elite tier patrons. And we also give a special shout out whenever we have brand new patrons, which we do have a brand new patron this week. Shout out to Dear Mid O'Kirill. I really hope that I pronounced your name correctly, but thank you so much for joining the Patreon family. If you like what we're doing here, you want to support the content, we literally can't do any of the things that we do without the support of our patrons. So if you want to see the content continue, head over to patreon.com/the Sixth Man Show. Again, pick whatever tier works best for you. Kev, I know we're going to talk really about the week in general. This past week, obviously, you have the loss on, what was that, Monday to Golden State. You win in Portland on Tuesday. You had Wednesday, Thursday, like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day off. And then the Magic came back on Friday against the Hornets. Didn't get a win in that one. And then you had the two back-to-backs in the same week. I don't remember the last time that we had that. But then you get the thrilling kind of upset win over the Denver Nuggets. We didn't see Mo Wagner return to the lineup on Friday like we had hoped. And at this point, I'm just like, man, like if it wasn't then, when is it going to be? Like, we're getting very close to that Berlin-London trip coming up in a couple weeks. I mean, does he make his return in Berlin at this point? Do we see the Magic, play him a few games to kind of ramp up to that before he comes back? Still seems like Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner, those guys are still a ways off. And now, Goga Batadze's kind of been up in the air the last couple of games with the knee. But where are you with the Mo and Franz situation?
Yeah, I mean, and this is just based off my own recollection, which is often flawed. I don't remember a time in this current regime of Magic leadership when a player was out for a significant amount of time and made their return on the road. Like, I can't remember it. Maybe please let us know in the comments if you can think of and I'm not talking like a little, sprained ankle or something like that. I'm talking a major injury like Mo's, where they made their return while on the road, or especially a road trip. I just can't remember one. So that tells me, as we look at yet another road trip, which I think the Magic are going to end up playing like 10 out of 13 on the road or 10 out of 12 on the road, whatever it is during the stretch. It's kind of crazy. But, with another road trip this week, Toronto, Indiana, and Chicago, it makes me wonder if, okay, maybe it's not this week. Maybe it's next Sunday at home against Indiana. I don't know. But, yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, I don't remember a guy coming back from a major injury on the road trip. Am I forgetting one? Can you think of one?
I mean, thinking back to Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, obviously Jalen Suggs, Paolo, Mo Wagner. Like the last few years, anytime like a guy's missed a significant chunk of time, it seems like those returns have come at home.
Yeah.
And like you just pointed out, you're now on the road. You come home for Indiana. Like you're running out of opportunities for if he's gonna come back, home in Orlando. Maybe he's gonna like come home at home in Berlin, maybe, because you are running out of opportunities to bring him back in Orlando before the Euro trip.
Yeah. At this point, like if I had to bet, like basically that game versus the field, I might take that game at this point. I mean, we're what's today? Today's you said the 29th. So this Thursday is obviously January 1st. So we're 2 weeks from this Thursday away from that game. I don't know. That's a long time. There's a lot of games between now and then. I'd like to think he comes back before then, but I'm getting closer to taking that over the field, that game over the field.
Mm-hmm. And Franz, we've seen like a couple, like he's back on the bench. He hadn't been on the bench, for, the last handful of games, while he was in like the air cast or the boot or whatever. Seems to be out of that, seems to be like walking around again. We've seen Jalen Suggs on the bench, jumping up, celebrating at times. Feels like he might be getting a little bit closer, but again, there's like his return doesn't seem super imminent by any means, but like we talked about, that could be something where you do see a Jalen Suggs come back on the road if he's available.
Yeah, the thing with Jalen that's different though, he is at least not listed as out right now.
Right.
Like, he is listed as doubtful, which means he's one step above, those other two guys. And so I'd like to think that Jalen does come back sometime this week. I feel like that's the most probable of all of them, just because of that injury designation of being doubtful right now instead of out. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like, was he doubtful on any of the road trip games, or was he out and then just got upgraded to doubtful Friday versus Charlotte?
I don't know for certain. I feel like he was doubtful going into, or no, maybe it was Tristan. Tristan might have been, that's what it was. Tristan was upgraded at some level, like doubtful or something like that, for the Golden State Portland back-to-back. Because I remember last week I said, I feel like we're going to get him back in one of those. And we didn't, but yeah, I think he was out for those road trip games. Jalen was.
Yeah. And then as we mentioned, Goga's kind of been up in the air dealing with like a knee strain, like kind of knee soreness. I think he was questionable heading into Saturday against Denver. Wasn't able to play, didn't play against Charlotte either. But we have seen him like kind of working out, so he doesn't seem like he's too far off. I would expect him to be back sometime this week as well. So that's kind of what's going on the injury front. Let's go ahead and jump into the weekly state of the Magic, and then we'll go over these last handful of games. This week, the Magic went 2-2 with a loss to the Warriors on Monday, a win over the Trailblazers on Tuesday, a loss to the Hornets on Friday, and a win over the Nuggets on Saturday. Couple of things really quick, Kev. We both said, like, hey, you need to find a way to go 2-2 on the road trip. They did that. And I believe we also said they need to find a way to go 2-2 this past week with, both of those back-to-backs. And they did that.
Ironically, they won the second night of both back-to-backs, which I think is hilarious. Unheard of, but pretty cool.
Especially, against Denver on Saturday, which they, just kicked your butts a couple weeks ago, or a couple nights ago. Right now, the time of this recording at 18-14, the Magic are 5th in the East, 6.5 games back of the Pistons, 4 games back of the Knicks, 2 games back of the Celtics, a half game back of Toronto. So Monday night's game, pretty big implications in that one. The winner of that game will hold on to or lose or win the 4 seed, at least for the time being. The Magic are 1 game up on the 76ers and Heat, a game and a half up on the Cavs, 2.5 games up on the Bulls, and 3.5 games up on the Hawks. On the season, the Magic are now 11th in offensive rating with an offensive rating of 115. They are 11th in defensive rating with a defensive rating of 113.5 and 12th in overall net rating with a positive rating of 1.5. Kevin, the last 15 games, however, the Magic have slid to 18th in offensive rating, 16th in defensive rating, 12th in overall net rating. And the last 8 games, which coincide with the Franz Wagner injury, and also I think 5 or 6 of those, you also have been without Jalen Suggs. The Magic are 20th in offensive rating, 24th in defensive rating, and 25th in net rating. We talked about the injury report. Tristan da Silva came back, I believe, did he come back Saturday? Did he come back Friday? It's eluding me now, but Tristan da Silva is back in the lineup and is looking like himself again. Looks much better than he was before he went out with the shoulder injury. We've talked about Mo. We've talked about Franz. Talked about Jalen. We talked about Goga. A lot of guys kind of in and out of the lineup right now, but it's definitely good to have Tristan back. I wanted to pause on kind of those last 8 games without Franz because I think this past week is a pretty good snapshot of that and how this team has been playing. Again, 20th in offensive rating, 24th in defensive rating. And I think that's where we've seen the team slip the most, Kevin. And it's really not a surprise when you're without probably your best 2 defenders in Jalen Suggs and Franz Wagner.
Yeah, not a surprise. Maybe I may take that back. Not a surprise that they have been worse, but maybe a surprise at how much worse, statistically at least, right? To hear you say, what did you say, 24th? Defensive rating, like that is a significant drop off. You're talking typically a top 5 defensive team when fully healthy and fully locked in to drop 20 spots is pretty wild. I think there's a lot at play there, right? It's not just the absence of Franz and Jalen. It's also who has to play extended minutes because of their absences, right? And so that adds to some of the defensive struggles, I think. And then, yeah, the addition, like the more pressure that you're having to put on guys, I think adds to it too. But that's, again, not surprising that they're worse, but I was genuinely surprised to hear you say they were 24th in defensive rating during that stretch. That's pretty crazy.
Well, if you look at the games, that they've played, so, he goes out in that New York game. I'm trying to think, right? Yeah, he goes out in the NBA Cup game. Was it against New York, or was it the game before that? Trying to remember now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah,
6,
it was the one before.
7.
He was out for the semifinal. Yeah.
Right, it was the one before. Right, he's out for the semifinal game against Miami. So look, you give up 108 to Miami, 132 to New York, 126 to Denver, 127 to Utah, 120 to Golden State, 110 to Portland, 105 to Charlotte, and 126 to Denver. Like we have been seeing. The beginning of the year, what was it? Like the 136 to Philadelphia, the 135 to Detroit. Like we've also seen them give up, 138 to Boston, in Boston on the 23rd. Outside of that, though, like most you've been living in like the low 100s, like the 110s. Now we're seeing teams like more regularly either get over that 130 mark or kind of flirt with it. Again, I'm not panicking about this whatsoever because you are missing 2 of your best defenders, 2 of like the highest motor guys and like energy guys on the team. I know we're going to have the Paolo Banchero conversation as well. And I'm not saying this to like excuse them at all, but I do think luckily for this team and the rest of the roster, as soon as you bring those guys back, I think that kind of flips and you're like an elite defensive team again. However, it is concerning, like especially going back to like parts of really parts of each one of these games where the team just doesn't seem to have that sense of urgency on that end. To their credit, like when the games have been close, they've been able to find that when they've needed it. But just what have your overall thoughts been like, especially this past week. I know it's a tough schedule. You're on the road. Obviously, there's the back-to-back. Then the first game home after a road trip is always weird. It's also the day after Christmas. You have a first and second night of a back-to-back. But just kind of what are your overall thoughts about like the Magic playing or not playing Magic basketball right now?
Yeah, it's a tough watch, honestly. Like the way we're playing right now is pretty tough to watch. And I include Saturday in that, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like large stretches of that game. And I know we score 127 points and all that stuff, but there are still stretches of games where you're going, just, man, this offense, like, what is it? You know, while I do think it is better than last year in this season's past, it does still have moments where it feels very similar, right? Mm. And I think certainly part of that is, again, the personnel that we have or don't have available right now. I think that's a gigantic part of it. But yeah, I mean, there are still stretches where it's really tough to watch. And I think especially on that road trip, I mean, goodness gracious, all 4 games, even though you go 2-2, which is great, there were stretches of those games where your offense was nothing. Like, it was bad. I mean, obviously, you think first and foremost to the comebacks that we saw in Utah and in Portland, where those teams just about won those games based off of, you know, big comebacks and down the stretch, you know, fourth quarters and stuff, the Magic offense just sputtering. That's really, really hard to watch. And then you pair it with some really tough defensive performances over the last, you know, week and a half, giving up 126 to Denver, which, by the way, obviously that comes with an asterisk because Denver is the best offense in basketball right now. And so there's going to be a little bit of give and take there, right? Denver is going to score, but you still don't love to give up 126. But then you turn around and give up 127 to Utah and 120 to Golden State. Those performances weren't great. And then 120 to Charlotte at home, you know? So those things being, like you said, not Magic basketball, I think is a great way to put it. And so, but I've said this so many times on the post-game live, I just cannot fully evaluate this team right now. Like, I know we say some of these games the Magic should have won, like you should have beat Portland, you should have beat Utah, and you did, but at this point, like on any given night, I just don't know that I'm fully like the Magic should win these games because of how hurt we are, honestly, which sounds like a terrible excuse. I mean, me just making up excuses, I guess, but like losing to Charlotte on Friday, as annoying as it was, didn't totally shock me just because of, again, the circumstances and who was not available and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I've been feeling, but it's very much so like hey, I'm not really judging anything until we get fully healthy, which I hope is going to be very soon.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said, and you might even agree with what I'm going to say is like, I'm not so mad about the result as I am like the way that they're coming. Like I can deal with you being down, you know, multiple guys, like down like 4 rotation guys at this point. But what really bothers me is like we're not even getting close to like the Magic standard. And that to me, that's the problem, that the standard has to be the standard no matter who is on the floor, no matter who is out. The standard isn't, you know, your makes and misses, which is always going to be, maybe not always, but at a lot of times when this offense is just sputtering, it's not because they're not getting good looks. It's that they can't convert on those good looks for like large stretches of the game. But if they were coming out and like playing, especially defensively, with like attention to detail and effort and like really bringing it on that end, I could deal with you losing games, you know, 105 to like 115. But again, when you're giving up 132 to New York, 126 to Denver, 127 to Utah, 120 to Golden State, and then 120 to Charlotte, 126 to Denver. It's like at some point, like you just have to take more pride on that end. And I think even in the wins, you are seeing a little bit of a frustration from Jamal Mosley. Like even in like some of these like good performances, guys are being asked like, hey, why aren't you playing up to par on that end? And Desmond Bane, I think it was last night, said, you know what, that's a good question. Like, we need to figure out what is going on that end. And this was really the theme of the first couple weeks of the season is like, if this team can't count on being really solid on that end, night in and night out, it's going to be tough for them to win games. And I think it's even more important now that they do that because of the guys that they're missing. So at the end of the day, the Magic are, what do we say, 5th in the East right now. They're 18-14. You've got 6 very winnable games coming up. if you sweep that, probably won't. Like, it's, hard to win 6 games in a row in the league. But if you are able to do that, all of a sudden now you're sitting at 24-14 and you're getting guys back and everything is looking amazing. But didn't want to spend a lot of time like going through the Golden State and Portland wins. I think you pretty much laid those out pretty good. Golden State, like the entire team just basically like so clearly didn't have it. And not only was it Steph Curry getting going in the fourth, but it's Podziemski, it's these other guys, it's Gary Payton the second that are getting going and really hurting you in that one. And you just look at the result, like 120-97. The game was closer than that, like through the first like 2.5, 3 quarters, and then they just kind of ran away with it at the end. Portland, you get off to a big lead, and Portland just kind of almost comes all the way back to win that game. Charlotte, I mean, dude. Con Knipple, I feel bad that he got hurt in this game, but the dude is an absolute monster. Yeah, what was it? Started 5 of 5 from the floor, 4 of 4 from behind the arc in this game against the Magic. And like that early kind of run that he got Charlotte going, got them up to a 10-point lead to end that first half. The Magic were just never really able to close that gap. In fact, they lose the third quarter by 10 points as well. And you look at the box score, and it's really like outside of, Anthony Black, who had 24 points, 8 of 17, like not the most efficient game in the world, but, still a fairly efficient game. And like Wendell had 16 on 5 of 10 from the floor. Like the Magic just didn't really get a lot of help, especially from their stars. Paolo Banchero, 13 points, 4 of 13 from the floor. Desmond Bane, 15 points, 7 of 19, 0 of 6 from 3. Magic shoot 40% from the floor, 31% from deep. They do make 20 of their 23 free throws, and even kept the turnovers relatively low in this game, like 9 points. But Charlotte shoots 19 of 39 from deep, 49%. You could look at this game and just be like, it's just one of those games where like one team has it, the other didn't. It didn't feel like that. Like the Hornets were getting wide open 3-point looks the entire night. And it just seemed like the Magic were okay giving them a lot of those looks. And, maybe there are some of the guys on their roster that you're probably okay with taking like threes, like, maybe like Sexton and Salon, but like Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball, Con Knipple early in that game. Like these dudes are just getting wide open looks, got their confidence flowing early, and they just never really like slowed down. And the Magic pretty much got punked in this game, like on the glass as well. Like you lose that battle. What is it here? 42-53. Charlotte got 16 offensive rebounds. The Magic did as well. But it just felt like yet another game where the other team was the one, really setting the level of physicality, getting the loose balls, beating you to rebounds and things like that. It didn't feel like the Magic played to the standard in this one, even though Charlotte just got really hot from deep.
Yeah, you can look at, like you said, look at the shooting numbers and say, wow, they shot the ball crazy. The Magic shot the ball terribly, just 31%. Desmond Bane went 0 for 6, blah, blah, blah. You can say all those things. But watching the game is a different story because, like you said, watching the game, Charlotte just beat you all the way around. Like, just it felt like everything you watched, every loose ball, they were there first. Every rebound, they came away with it. All the little things that are what the Magic have to do really well to be competitive in this league, because we know still offensively, I know the offensive rating is up this year and all that kind of stuff, but we still have nights like Friday where the team cannot buy a bucket from distance and the other team cannot miss. And so the only way to have a chance to make up for that is by doing everything else really, really well. And the Magic didn't do that on Friday. I think that was the thing that was most disappointing. But again, I can't just glance over as good as Desmond Bane has been lately. He has once again had another 0 for night from 3. And I think Saturday against Denver, he did that. Yeah, he went 0 for 2. So he went 0 for 8 on this little back-to-back home, back-to-back thing from 3. Just can't have that. I know he had big free throws on Saturday, and we'll get to that and all this kind of stuff. We're still paying you to knock down threes, and we can't have you going 0 for 8 at home in the span of 24 hours in, a game that you lost bad and a game that you needed every bucket on Saturday. I can't ignore that. And then obviously, I know there's a whole separate conversation we have to have about Paolo. He really struggled Friday, and I think a lot of the fan base was pretty disappointed with how he performed. But across the board, just wasn't exactly what you'd expect from the Magic on Friday.
I think by and large, Magic fans would agree that we've been pretty happy with the way that the Desmond Bane trade has worked out to this point.
Yeah.
That being said, we are still really yet to get what we thought we were in terms of shooting, at least on a consistent basis. Like he had very recently like a 10-game stretch where he shot like over 45% from three, and that's awesome. We can't have these like complete lulls where you're just not hitting anything. Like those need to improve a little bit. But I think it's so funny when you have a game like this on Friday and then you have the game that you have on Saturday. In a way, it almost makes the previous game even more frustrating. Even though you bounce back, you get a win, because you're down by as much as 17 in this second half against the Denver Nuggets, and you come all the way back largely on the back of one Anthony Black and Desmond Bane. Tristan da Silva had a really good game. I know we're going to talk about him. Paolo Banchero, although the numbers weren't incredible, did have some big plays in this game where you were like, oh, wait, there it is. We saw a little flash of Paolo Banchero there for just a moment. Like Wendell Carter had a big game in this as well. It was really like Wendell, Desmond Bane, Anthony Black, Tristan da Silva, and then I know we talked a little bit about Paolo Banchero making some big plays down the stretch. And Jonathan Isaac had a really solid defensive game. But again, Magic came all the way back from being down 17 in this game and literally win this game at the buzzer. Jamal Murray inbound the ball to Jokic. Jokic got the ball to Jamal Murray. Anthony Black, some people will say it's a foul. I'm just going to say it's clean. Anthony Black pokes the ball loose from Jamal Murray. He regathers the ball, goes to shoot it from like the right elbow. A good contest from Anthony Black. Very similar, not in the same spot on the floor necessarily, but very similar to the closeout on Keontae George in the Utah game, which he fouled him, and that game went into overtime. But Anthony Black did not foul Jamal Murray this time, and the Magic win the game at the buzzer. Last 2-minute report says that Anthony Black fouled Jamal Murray on the possession, but if you go back to like 40 seconds left in this game, Jamal Murray clearly shoves Anthony Black. You can slow it down in slow motion if you want. I did it for you if you want to go to our Twitter and view that. Does he fully extend the arm? No, but you do see the elbow come out a little bit, and then Anthony Black goes flying essentially into the stanchion. Jamal Murray scores, which the NBA deemed a correct no call on the last 2-minute report, which is just really funny to me. We saw that as well in the semifinal of the NBA Cup when Jalen Brunson just flat out tripped Anthony Black and then shoved him to the ground. Anthony Black, it seems like, is the only like perimeter defender in the league who is not entitled to having his own space where the other players can't just push him out of the way. But nevertheless, I digress. This was as gutsy of a win as the Magic have had all year. Again, the Nuggets might not be like the defending champs right now, but they have won the championship the last couple of years. It still feels like when they come into town, you're playing a championship caliber team, and kind of withstood a good performance from Jokic and got a massive win at home on the second night of a back-to-back.
Yeah, and a lot of things were impressive in this game. I think the Magic withstood and bounced back from a lot of Denver runs. I mean, even thinking at the very beginning of the game, you spot them 7 points. Denver goes up 7-0. The Magic have to climb out of that, but not only do they climb out of it, they climb out of it with a 7-0 run of their own to tie it up. And part of that 7-0 run, Jonathan, is this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week. Wendell Carter Jr. in the first quarter of this game with a big dunk that was part of this 7-0 run. He cuts backdoor, and Anthony Black finds him for the big-time throwdown. Again, big bounce back from going down 7-0. Wendell Carter with the big dunk as part of that 7-0 run. The bounce back from the 7-0 deficit that Denver put on you. And so that is this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, which is brought to you by our friends at Jam Hot Chicken, who are bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park and Winter Garden. Again, they have opened their brand new Winter Garden location. So if you're in either spot, Winter Park or Winter Garden, you know where to go get the best chicken in Central Florida. It's at Jam Hot Chicken. You can follow them on social media at Jam Hot Chicken or visit their website, jamhotchickenfl.com, where you can read more about their menu and you can order online. When you order online, they've given us a code that we can give to you. Use code 6MAN, that's SIXTHMAN, which will get you 10% off your order. Or even if you're not ordering online, you're going in person, you can just let the person behind the counter know, hey, I've got this code, 6man. They'll give you 10% off. Again, best chicken in Central Florida. Go give it a try. And when you do, just let them know that your friends at the 6Man Show sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by the Posa Group. They're your home team on and off the court. Not only are they the real estate partner of our show, they're the real estate partner of the Orlando Magic this year. They are your Orlando real estate resource of choice. They happen to be the most followed real estate brand in Central Florida and Orlando with over 1,700 plus 5-star reviews. And they're also part of the 2025 Orlando Weekly Best of Orlando, the best real estate company. If you're in the market for a house, whether you're selling, buying, whatever the case may be, if you're looking to upsize, downsize, call our friends over at the Posa Group. They'll take care of all of your real estate needs. They are impacting lives through real estate, and Posa Group agents outsell the competition by 5 times. So other real estate companies in the Orlando market, the Posa Group, they are outselling those other brokers by 5 times. They're also in the top 1% of sales in the United States. So they are one of the best real estate brokers, not only in Florida, but the entire United States of America. Ken and his entire team do a fantastic job. You can find out more and contact them over at posic.com. A big shout out to Jam Hot Chicken and our friends over at the Posa Group. And let's go ahead and get back to the episode.
Jonathan, earlier I was talking about like the second night of a back-to-back thing, right? The Magic, they go 2-0 this week on the second night of back-to-back. And it made me think, I was like, man, the Magic have actually, I feel like been doing pretty okay with that lately. And so I wanted to go back into the archives. In 2022-23, the Orlando Magic went 1-12 with no rest. So the second night of back-to-back. 23-24, one of the best seasons in modern Magic history. The team went 5-10. Okay, so better, but still, not great. Last season, the Magic went 7-7 on the second night of a back-to-back. So right at 500, which is great. This season, the Orlando Magic, so far, long way to go, are 4-2 on the second night of a back-to-back, in spite of all the injuries, in spite of all of that. And so that is not just an improvement. That's a significant improvement over the course of less than 4 seasons, really, to go from 1-12 to now 4-2. I think that's a pretty clear sign of the maturation of this team, right? That was such a young team in 22-23, and yeah, I just found that super impressive to be sitting here at 4-2 on the second night of back-to-back so far this season.
It's kind of crazy that we've only had 6 back-to-backs. It feels like we've had 10.
I know. I was thinking that too. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, 6 so far, plenty more to come. But yeah, the only losses so far were obviously the first week, what was that? Atlanta, Chicago, home back-to-back. We lost both of them. And then the other one was the New York to Boston back-to-back. Well, home against New York and then at Boston on a Sunday. You lost that game too. So those are the only 2 losses. But yeah, you beat in Charlotte earlier in the season. You beat Portland. Actually, both Portland games were on a back-to-back. How about that? And then obviously the Denver game on Saturday. So credit to the Magic. That's big time. And yeah, we'll see if that trend can continue through the rest of the season.
Well, we would be remiss if we did not talk about this game, which I think emphatically is the Anthony Black legacy game, the very best game of his career. Yeah. You don't come anywhere close to winning this game without him. 38 points, 14 of 24, including 7 of 11 from deep, including 3 quick ones early on in this game. He was 3 of 6 at the free throw line, but added 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals in this one, and just hit big shot after big shot. I'm thinking like the steal from Jokic, and then the and one on Jamal Murray on the other end of the floor. And we've talked about the steal, like the double team with Desmond Bane on Jokic to get the ball out of his hands goes to Jamal Murray. Played perfectly clean, good defense on Jamal Murray, poked the ball loose, and then a really good contest at the buzzer. It felt like for large stretches in this game, really before Desmond Bane got going and Tristan da Silva hitting some big shots late, it was like, can anyone help Anthony Black? If Anthony Black can even get a little bit of help in this game, we might have a chance, even when you were down 17. And he was just so good. I know we've talked about like his biggest scoring outbursts always come when he's shooting the ball well from deep. 7 of 11, career high for him. has just genuinely turned into, I'll have to look at exactly what the numbers are, but from those corners this year, it just feels like if he's open, it's going in. We even saw like a pull-up, I think it was it? Yeah, late in the fourth quarter, or maybe it was the beginning of the fourth quarter when they started to go on that run. Magic get a turnover. He comes down and just pulls up from deep, and you just knew it was going in. Just talk a little bit about Anthony Black in this one.
Well, first off, we talked about Desmond Bane a little bit earlier. Desmond Bane hasn't made 7 threes in a game this season. I'm just saying, Desmond's season high so far is 6. Of course, I think that was one of the Miami games. Can't remember which one. But Desmond Bane has only made 6 threes in a game. And so for AB to go out there on Saturday and one up him with 7 was pretty fun. But yeah, just an outrageous performance. Like, it's one of those things where when Anthony Black was drafted, or at least in the draft process, it was one of those things where it's like, man, he's got high basketball IQ, going to be a great defender, going to be able to do a lot of things really well, but man, that guy's not going to be able to shoot the basketball, which, and to be fair, those thoughts were correct, right? That they weren't unfounded. He was not a good shooter in college, didn't start as a good shooter, in the league to begin with, right? And not to say that he's elite or anything like that, but the fact that he's come this far and he's only 21 with his three-point shot is significant, right? Now, he's not going to go out there and shoot 63% from 3 every night, obviously, but the fact that he's made these kinds of improvements even over just the last 3 years is really significant, and that's not even touching on the rest of his game. Like we said last season, when Anthony Black is at his best is when he is aggressive. And so we've started to see more and more of Anthony Black being aggressive. And sometimes that is getting to the rim, taking on his defender, getting right to the rim. Sometimes that is taking on his defender and finding other guys who are open. He had 5 assists in this game. And now all of a sudden, sometimes it's him just pulling up from 3. Like, add that to the mix. Because if he's feeling it, it's there. But the other part of this is, like you mentioned, the open corner threes. As we get healthy, in my mind, at least, there's only going to be more of those, right? Like, as Franz comes back with Paolo, a healthy Paolo who's playing better eventually, with a Desmond Bane, like, there's a good chance Anthony Black is going to have plenty of time open in the corners. And if he's going to continue to be this lethal, look out. I mean, that's a recipe for some real success there.
And I do have those numbers here. He is shooting 48.5% from the left corner. He's 16 of 33 on the season. And he is 42.1% from the right corner, 8 of 19. So that would be, what is that, 24 of 52? But my math is correct there. I think it is. Yeah. I mean, he's shooting over 40%, from the corner. So just shooting the lights out. I think he's shooting like 36%. Yeah, 35.6% overall from deep this season.
Yeah, which again, a guy that everyone said is not going to be able to shoot the basketball at this level is now league average through 32 games. Like, again, not small sample size. We're almost halfway through the season and he's shooting league average. Hello, that's amazing. And again, 21 years old, 21.
And I think most people would agree that like this jump that we're seeing from him this season, especially like the last, 15, 20-ish games, somewhere around there, it's like directly coincided with him not really being on the ball as much, not being asked to be like the primary facilitator when he's on the floor, just being able to, catch the ball, like, when it's swinging to his side, going ahead, making a quick decision, and whether that's pulling up or just driving to the rim. Like, even still now, the possessions where he kind of struggles to penetrate is when he gets the ball, starts to dribble a little bit, and doesn't exactly seem to have a plan on what it is that he's going to do. So this is him the last 15 games. 18.9 points, 44.2% from the floor, 39.2% from deep, 5.6 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 1.1 steals, 0.6 blocks per game, almost 19 points a game in the last 15 games.
Wow.
From Anthony Black. And, with all the guys, in and out of the lineup, and Paolo Banchero, still struggling since he's been back, I kind of it worries you a little bit to think where the Magic might be without Anthony Black playing at the level that he has.
Yeah, 100%. And we talked about this last season when first Paolo goes out and Franz has to step up and be the guy, and then Franz goes out and other guys have to step up and be the guy. This could just be another silver lining moment where a bunch of guys are out and Anthony Black is forced to have a bigger role, and wow, is that paying off? Now, like you said, wish some other guys were stepping up around him so that maybe we weren't so desperate for an Anthony Black 38-point performance to win a game by one. Obviously, it's a very good opponent, and I get that, but yeah, this could be a silver lining, like Anthony Black having a role that he's never had at this level before. Like what we saw Saturday, he's never had any kind of opportunities like that through the course of an entire game. And to see him just take it and run with it, it's pretty cool. And yeah, again, it could just be another weapon you could add to the Magic's arsenal going forward for sure.
Tony Orlando, how do you do?
Do you do? Love that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What a freaking game from him.
Yeah, big time.
Okay, we have to have the Paolo Banchero conversation. I want to start by saying that there's been, to say a little bit of criticism of Paolo Banchero online. We know that there always has been for years and years now, but most recently, it's been by Magic fans. All of the criticism, like criticism in itself of Paolo Banchero is warranted. He has not been playing up to the level that we're accustomed to, the level that he would expect himself to, the level to which the Magic are going to be paying him to be a max contract kind of guy. His draft position, his all-star accolades, like whatever qualifier you want to put on Paolo Banchero, criticism is warranted. He has not been playing well, does not look like himself, and it might be a little bit different if like the Magic were just still like steamrolling teams and it's like, okay, like Paolo's just gonna like take his time. But it does genuinely feel like right now at this juncture, the Magic are desperate for Paolo Banchero to be Paolo Banchero. All of that being said, I don't want to say it's 50-50. I'm pretty confident that's probably just like the loud minority of people that are criticizing Paolo Banchero. But there is a subset of Magic, and I'm going to put quotations around this, fans who are being disrespectful, who are being flat out stupid and silly about the way that they are criticizing and some of the things that they are saying about Paolo Banchero at this time. I want to get all of that out of the way, and I want people to actually listen to what we're saying and not just like jump to their own conclusions. You and I, Kevin, have been talking really for the past several weeks since Paolo Banchero has come back that he is not playing to the level that we expect and that the Magic do need him to be better. Some people have said things like, you guys are letting Paolo off easy and so on and so forth, and I would just respond to that. And are we going as far as some people are? No, because it's completely ridiculous in my opinion.
Yeah.
But are we like giving him a pass? I don't think that that's fair to the two of us either. I want to give some context to the way that Paolo Banchero has played so far this season. So before the injury, in the 12 games that he played this season, he scored 21.7 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, 4.1 assists, 1.7 stocks, had 2.7 turnovers per game, was shooting 46% from the floor, 26% from deep, 76% from the free throw line. Now, Kevin, I feel this way. I think that you would probably agree that even before Paolo Banchero went out, we still felt like something was kind of missing. Like he was just having a slow start to the season. We were waiting for him to like really, turn it on and play the level that we thought he was. And it did feel like right before the injury happened, like maybe he was starting to get to that point. However, in the 10 games since he's come back, he's averaging 17.5 points per game, 6.7 rebounds, 4.8 assists, 0.8 stocks, 2.3 turnovers, shooting 39% from the floor, 17% from deep, 17.4% at the free throw line. Overall this season, he's averaging 19.8 points, 8.2 rebounds, 4.4 assists, shooting 43% from the floor, 22.5% from deep, 75.7% at the free throw line. I don't want to say he doesn't look engaged. I don't feel like that's accurate. I do believe he's engaged, but he doesn't look to be playing with the same amount of confidence, aggression, effort on either end of the floor. I do feel like he is making good basketball decisions for the most part. But right now, he is playing like a very high-level role player where the Magic need him to be an all-star, all-NBA, superstar level type of player if they're going to get where they want to go. And we should expect that out of Paolo at this point.
Yeah, I think first I want to touch on like the body language and stuff. I think that's really important. I think it's important for Magic fans to remember, like, Paolo, thus far in his career, is just not a super, like, overtly emotional basketball player, right? Like, sure, he'll celebrate a big play, right? Like, sure, obviously there's a clip where, you know, he like twisted his ankle in Sacramento, you know, a couple years ago. That was a little bit of an emotion. That was an outburst that, you know, the entire arena heard, right? Things like that are going to happen, right? But outside of that, even when things are good, Paolo is not an overtly emotional guy. Doesn't show it, I should say, right? And so I think it's important to remember that, because even in the good times, we don't see it. And now we're in some struggles. He's obviously struggling. We're not seeing it either. And I'm with you. I don't want that to be mistaken for just not caring. I think that's something to keep in mind. But then on the flip side of that, though, like you said, there are expectations, for me at least, not just about the quality of Paolo's play, right? Like, obviously, we want him to score more. We want him to shoot the ball better, all those things. It's about the understanding of your role on this team as at least a leader, if not the leader on the court of this team. And so that's why I think a night like Friday frustrated me so much, is because the Magic just didn't have it, right? Like, they were playing terrible. You're in the fourth quarter, though, and this is still a winnable game, right? You lost by 15. So, I mean, that says, you know, this was still available in the fourth quarter to win. It was, I think, a 2 or 3 possession game halfway through the quarter. And that's where I wanted to see the leader, the superstar, the all-star, the max contract, Paolo Banchero, go, you know what? This ship is either sinking or swimming with me. It doesn't matter what it is. I might go out there and go 0 for 10 in these last 6 minutes, but by golly, I'm going to take the basketball and I'm going to try, right? I'd rather see that. I'd rather see him put his head down and go to work and miss all 10 shots and go 0 for 5 from the free throw line. But I just want to see him go for it. And the fact that he was so passive in that game in particular, I think is what really frustrated me, and I think is what also frustrated a lot of Magic fans. Again, we want him to shoot better. We want him to play better offensively. But first, I just want to see him take over. Like, get out of the way. I'm taking, and again, it's not like Saturday, where there's one guy that clearly had it Saturday. Anthony Black was great. Desmond Bane was good down the stretch. Friday night, nobody had it. And so let Paolo take over. That's what I wanted to see, and we never saw it. And so I think that's probably the biggest source of frustration, at least for me, from Friday.
Yeah, I want to say it might have been the Portland game early on where, like, Noah Penda has been getting more minutes lately, and I don't mean to make this like a Noah Penda segment, but it's like lately we've been getting like a little bit too much Noah. We're like, Noah's like, it's the Noah Penda show, says Noah Penda. And like, I don't know if it was the Golden State or the Portland game, but he's just like jacking up shots out there. And to me, people are like complaining that that's somehow like Paolo's fault. To me, in those moments, it said more about what was going on with Noah Penda than, you know, Paolo Banchero. Now, that being said, I think everything that you said is correct. In the Charlotte game, like, looking at Paolo, looking at Desmond, it's like, hey, like, one of you two guys, preferably Paolo, one of you two guys has to say, hey, nobody has it. Our guys are down. I'm just going to, like, drag us back, at least being competitive in this game. Maybe not bring them all the way back, but somebody's just got to grab everybody up by the collar and say, like, okay, I'm putting the team on my back. Let's go. And Paolo, just like by and large so far to start the season, especially since he's come back, just doesn't have it. Like last night, like we see him get the ball at the top of the key. I forget who he found on him, but hits the spin move through the lane and dunks the ball. And it was like, Okay, there we go. He dunked the ball, and it wasn't like a normal Paolo dunk. It was like a fingertip dunk. We haven't seen the same level of like explosiveness out of him really at any point in this season. But it was at least like the level of aggression that we're looking for in him getting to the rim. And then a couple of possessions later, he gets like 2 feet in the paint, goes up and just like bricks it off the backboard. Like it wasn't even close. He had another jumper early in the second half where he kind of gets knocked off balance and just kind of throws it up and it went in. It's like, okay, there we go. These are the type of shots that we're accustomed to seeing Paolo Banchero like take and make. And he just like, I don't know if it's the aggression. I don't know if it's the confidence. People are speculating, and some people are speculating like some pretty crazy, like ridiculous things on the internet. Not that the team owes it to come out and be like, hey, this is what's going on with Paolo, or not that Paolo owes it to anybody to come and be like, hey, this is what's going on. But I think it's just so confusing and so perplexing what we're seeing that people are just like grasping at straws, trying to rationalize it. And some of it, again, might be a little bit irresponsible, I think, but the internet is going to internet. But I don't think you can totally blame people for like trying to find an answer, because through the Magic are 32 games now. I know, Paolo missed a few weeks there. I think he's played 22 games on the season to this point. I don't think people are wrong in asking like, hey, what the heck is going on? Now, I tweeted this out last week. I will fully 100% stand by it. Give me all of the Paolo Banchero stock. You can desert me on Paolo Banchero Island. You can chain me to the foundation. You can bury me in the sand there. You can do whatever you want. Hell or high water, hurricane, typhoon, flood, whatever is going to happen, I'm not leaving P5 Island. And I'm confident that he's going to bounce back. But it's just been like so weird as to why he struggled the way that he has. And there's not really been a plausible explanation out there other than in one way or another, he's not healthy.
Yeah. For me, like one of the biggest indicators over the span of the 24 hours, home back-to-back that we saw this weekend, Paolo took 10 free throws in 2 games. 10. He took 26 shots and 10 free throws. How many games in his career has he taken 26 shots and 10 free throws in one game? Much less done over the course of 2 games. But like the 10 free throw number, to me, is the biggest one, because like when Paolo's at his best, he's putting his head down and just bully balling to the rim and either getting easy looks or getting to the foul line. And to not see that back-to-back games at home, that's the concerning thing for me, right? Like 4 free throw attempts Saturday against Denver, 6 Friday against Charlotte. Like, I don't know, man. Like when I personally look across at the Charlotte team, I'm like, that team is made for Paolo to feast, right? Like that should be a scenario where Paolo just takes over and gets to the foul line 10, 12, 14 times in a game, honestly. And so to have 6 free throw attempts Friday was just pretty disappointing. So, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's a mystery, but to me, like it feels physical, right? Like you said, there's all kinds of different theories and stuff out there. When I watch Paolo, it doesn't look mental to me. It looks physical. Like mental to me is like, oh, he's got all the explosion in the world, but his shot's off. He's got, some sort of yips going on with his shot, and he just can't knock him down, all that kind of stuff. That's one thing. But what we're seeing from him, we're not seeing, like you said, the explosiveness that we're used to seeing. We're not seeing just like those really dominant moves, either driving to the basket or backing guys down. Like we just don't see that, and that's why I think something physically is still not right with him.
And we're not seeing like the turnaround, like, baseline fadeaways, like, which, I think everybody would agree that he could use to cut down on those a little bit, but I don't know that anybody wanted him to like completely eliminate that from his game altogether. And we're not seeing that. And when he's missing these jumpers, more often than not, the miss is short. So he doesn't seem to have the same lift for whatever reason. And, we can be like, oh, it's the groin. Well, if you go back to the beginning of the season, like these are his like shooting numbers from deep: 1 for 3, 0 for 5, 1 for 4, 1 for 4, 0 for 3, 2 for 4, 3 for 6, 0 for 4, 1 for 3, 0 for 5, 2 for 3, 0 for 0 in that Knicks game that he only played 12 minutes in. like it does, you do start to question, like, did he come into the season with some type of injury? Like, was it something like off season, like training regiment wise? Like, it's concerning. It does, like, guys sometimes, I'm not saying he came in overweight, but if the plan was for him to come into the season a bit heavier, we saw this with Jonathan Isaac, a couple seasons, or last season, he comes into the season, pretty, obviously heavier than seasons before. And by the end of the year, maybe had not played himself like all the way into shape, but for the most part, like, guys, it's not uncommon for guys to shed like 10 to 15 pounds over the course of an NBA season, just because like they're not lifting as much. They're playing on an every other day basis. So I do think there's the possibility that if it is something like that, he can play himself back into like the conditioning or, whatever physical space he's more accustomed to playing in. And again, I don't believe that this dude just forgot how to play basketball and has just lost his talent, because that just doesn't happen. It would be pretty unprecedented. But all of that to say, a lot of things can be true. Something else that can also be true is that the Magic need him to be better. Like, we have no shot of getting where we want to get this season if Paolo Banchero cannot be Paolo Banchero. And I don't know what the answer is, fair or unfair. He, the team, Jamal Mosley, whoever, has, and I say that in capital letters, has to figure this out. You have to.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of things that make this team very good, right? Paolo is the key to making it the best, literally the best team in the league. That's the key. Because we've seen it. We've seen other guys step up in all kinds of different ways, and you can see that the ingredients are there for like a Michelin 3-star meal, right? It's all there. We just haven't had a chef that put it together yet for injuries or whatever reason. But Paolo is like the guy that can do that. And so, yeah, I agree. We got to find it. We know it's there. We got to find a way. And look, if he's not healthy and he needs time, sign me up for give Paolo time. Like, if Paolo needs weeks, heck, if Paolo needs months, fine. Like, if that's what it takes, I don't want Paolo playing hurt, right? I don't want to risk either whatever is going on. Maybe physically it gets worse, or I don't want to risk him the mental drain of like going out there and going through this and being subjected to the kind of comments that we've seen and heard over the last couple weeks, right? Like, I don't know. That's where I am. I'm sure it's obviously much more complicated than that, whatever it is. But yeah, we need Paolo to be Paolo. And again, I still believe it's there. I know you do too, Jonathan. And I hope Magic fans don't forget the Paolo that we've seen through his previous seasons, and believe that can come back at some point very soon.
And listen, if I'm not saying that is the case, but if you do have to, sit Paolo, if you're able to get Franz and Jalen and Mo Wagner and these guys back, this team can still be the 5 or 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. If you do, again, we're purely speculating here, but if you did have to go 2 months without Paolo Banchero and he comes back in March and is like Paolo Banchero, I'm ready to take on whether it be Detroit, New York, Boston, whoever it is in the first round. Yep. Give me this team fully healthy, and I genuinely believe they can beat any team in the East. I'm not afraid of anybody. 100%. If these guys are playing to their potential, Paolo's healthy, looks like the guy that we're accustomed to seeing, we can go toe to toe with anybody. I'm fully convinced of that.
Yep, absolutely. Especially because every team in the East has shown cracks this year at this point. Like Detroit has now hit their stretch where they're, I don't want to say struggling, but they've lost, a few games recently. Right now, they're losing double digits to, I think, the Clippers it's the Clippers. They're in Los Angeles. They're down 20 in the first quarter. So, like, they're showing cracks. The Knicks, the cracks they've shown so far have been against the Orlando Magic. So we know about those cracks.
And
the
not
Celtics,
even healthy.
Yeah, not even healthy. That's right. The Celtics, they're hot right now, but they lost today to Portland, right? Like, you go down the list, no team in the East is invincible. And so, yeah, I think everyone has weaknesses, and I think the Magic are right there. Like you said, when healthy, they're right there with the best of them in the Eastern Conference. You just got to get in the playoffs, and then see what you can do. And hopefully we're firing on all cylinders when that time comes.
And I just know there are people listening to this podcast that are going, well, what about Franz? Listen, we have both of them. You need both of them.
Yeah.
Do not get me wrong. As good as Paolo Banchero is, if Franz Wagner is not Franz Wagner, the Magic don't have a chance to get where they need to go.
That's right.
We need Paolo and Franz and Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs, and you go down and down and down the list. We need everybody to be the guy that we think they can be. Or for the most part, like, maybe if Tyus isn't great or Goga isn't great, like you might be able to get away with like a couple of those guys not playing up to their level. But when we talk about like the top 7 or 8 guys on this roster, you need all of those guys playing to their potential if the Magic are going to get where they need to get. So we need everybody. We especially need Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. And newsflash, people, if you are a fan of the Orlando Magic, just relish in the fact that we have both of them. It does not matter who's better than who. Paolo Banchero even said it to Josh Robbins of The Athletic. When people talk about, Paolo and Franz, can't play together, one's better without the other, or so on and so forth. He said it's BS, which is one of the most like animated, like blunt statements I've ever heard Paolo Banchero make. So please stop with it. It is, I don't care if you think it's fun to have the conversation. It is so unproductive. And it is a net negative on the fan base and on the organization to have that conversation.
100%. By the way, good job citing your reference there with Josh Robbins. That's good. But yeah, 100% agree. Like, we need both guys. And the problem with 2020, well, there's a lot of problems with 2025. One of the problems with 2025 is that you just got it. That NBA players, athletes, whatever, that they're on the internet. Their families are on the internet, right? The people in their circle are on the internet. And so when there are either national media or local media or Magic fans getting on the internet, comparing star players to each other and saying the team is better with one or without the other or whatever, that spreads. That spreads to the camps of those players and ultimately can spread to the players. And so think twice before you send that tweet. Think twice before you post whatever, because Lord knows. I mean, I've said this to Jonathan so many times. I would never be able to sleep at night if I knew that I sent out a tweet and then, 20 years from now, there's a 30 for 30 about the Orlando Magic, and Paolo Banchero brings up that tweet and says, this is the moment I knew I was going to leave Orlando, and it's my tweet when I said blah, 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 right? Like, I don't want that weight on my shoulders for the rest of my life. And so think about those things. Think about, like, if Paolo Banchero reads this, what is he going to think? And look, yeah, I don't know. I'll leave it at that. Like, just be smart, because those guys can see these things, and it's not helpful.
Not only can, like, they see that, I have seen people tweet at Paolo's parents of like, hey, what's going on? Like, it's just unnecessary. And I know there's going to be the faceless idiots on the internet that go, y'all are soft. That's so soft. Until you have some type of like semi-significant like public presence where people on the internet will just say the absolute worst things about you in droves, by the way. Until you've experienced that, you have no idea how toxic it can be. So until you've experienced it, you have no room to call it soft, bro.
Right.
100%. These giga chads.
Yeah.
Whatever the heck it is. So
yeah,
just keep it in mind, people. Okay, Kev, let's close it out with the week ahead. This week, Monday at Toronto, tip-off at 7:30. Wednesday, New Year's Eve at Indiana, early tip-off, 3 p.m. Friday at Chicago, 8 p.m. And then you come home Sunday versus Indiana, 3 p.m.
First off,
I don't like the Sunday 3 p.m. Don't like it.
It's kind of weird. First off, I was going to say, because Wednesday's New Year's Eve, Thursday's New Year's Day, we're not going to have like a normal episode of the show. Like, Jonathan and I are going to do like a post-game live 6-man show podcast hybrid type thing immediately after that game on Wednesday. And so you guys can tune into that either live on YouTube or next day, New Year's Day, whatever, however you want to do that. Just a programming note there. Okay. Yeah, it's weird. 2 3:00 games this week, which is kind of weird. But man, you go through the list. Indiana, I think, has won 6 games still. You play them twice this week. You got to win both games, if you ask me. I know you're injured, all those kinds of things, but you got to win those games. The other two, man, at this point, Toronto on the second night of a back-to-back, they went to overtime on Sunday against Golden State. Chicago's playing much better lately. I know they just lost their last game, but I think they won 5 in a row before that. I haven't looked to see what their schedule is like this week. But in my mind, you at least need to split those two. And so I'm going to go 3-1 on the week. Let's see. This week they play Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay. Oh, they're at home all week. Yeah. I'm going to say you go 3-1 this week. I'm going to pick us to beat Toronto on Monday, beat Indiana on Wednesday, lose in Chicago on Friday, and then beat Indiana again at home next Sunday. 3-1 is my number.
4-0.
Yeah, I knew it.
4-0 this week.
I knew it.
And I'm going to even go a step further. The Magic are beginning a 6-game win streak Monday night versus Toronto. We'll leave those other 2 games for next week's, the week ahead. Mm-hmm. But I need to see something. I need Paolo to just like Undertaker, wake up out of it, like just turn it on, just figure it out. I unfortunately don't think it's going to be that simple. I don't think that we're like, he could just flip a switch, but it's like, why haven't you flipped the switch before? If there is a switch to be flipped right now, it does feel like we still might be some time away from Paolo Banchero, like really being Paolo Banchero. But yeah, I need the Magic to be 24 and 14, a week and a half, like 2 weeks from now. Or, almost 2 weeks from now.
I'd like to add a new additional segment to the week ahead from now until we get these guys back. Predict of the 3 main injured guys right now, Jalen, Franz, and Mo, which, if any of those 3 make a comeback over the course of this week. Let's hear that prediction.
I'm going to say Jalen comes back Friday at Chicago.
Oh, we're putting dates on it. Okay, yeah, Friday, Chicago. I think that's great. I was just going to say, I think Jalen comes back this week. And then I'm spoiling my own game here, but I think Jalen comes back this week, Mo comes back next week, and then Franz comes back in Berlin. That's my tier. I think each one is. I think one is coming back each week for the next 3 weeks. That's how it goes in my brain, in my imagination. I hope that's right. But we got to have all 3 by the Berlin game, right? Like
we have
to. We have to. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got 3-1 this week. You've got 4-0. I like yours better. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, that is going to do it for this one. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!